argue our dream for reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yes, 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 and more yes. I just love yes. I don't know why that felt so good to say. But yes, we are here. This is the live stream of consciousness. That means it's Thursday. Today's date, let me check, August 28th. That's what we're calling it. So we all agreed on when and where to meet. It's just a name of a moment in time. But here we are in the live stream of consciousness. I've been thinking a lot about this show and why I am here. What's up, Tim? Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Ninja Kitty. Hashtag live. That's right. I'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're here live, hashtag live is what you want to type into the comments. Hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. But anyway, we are in a moment in time right now that I'm just going to call, for argument's sake, a shift. Okay. You've probably heard it in different communities. If you are living out of fear, you're feeling it. If you are living out of love, you're feeling it because it's happening. There is a shift happening in perception, in energy, in everything for humanity right now. And that is, I think, the purpose of this show, to help people navigate the shift by sharing the puzzle pieces that we hold. You guys have heard me talk about that metaphor, is that everybody's different. Everybody holds a puzzle piece. I started getting into this stuff because I had friends who were psychic mediums and Akashic records readers and channelers and all sorts of metaphysical gifts that were super fascinating to me, but all represented the same energy. It was just a different connection to a source, some sort of higher power. And it was just a different manifestation of it, a different way to communicate that connection. But to me, it all felt the same. It was a vibration. It was a frequency. So that's where I am. That's who I am. That's what the live stream of consciousness is all about. It's about the idea that we can create our own reality, right? I created this show. Here I am every Thursday for 4 years, having amazing conversations with amazing people, all because of intention. Just because I decided I wanted to do it. And Tim and Ninja Kitty and everybody who's out there, you guys are here because of intention, right? You come to see the show, to see the conversation, to take part in it. And I appreciate you guys so much. Or maybe you just tripped across it, right? It just popped up in your feed, but you're here and you're paying attention. So thank you for that. I'm going to make it a little bit interactive. I know there's not too many people here yet, but here's the question. What is the name of my bowl? Does anybody know the name of my bowl? This is an amazing sound bowl that I have that when I picked it up in the shop, it was a crystal shop. Oh my goodness, Moon. I forget what it was. Oh my God, I got to give them a shout out. I picked up this bowl and I played it, and it was ringing so loud that somebody came in from the other room and said, "My eyes are tearing." And I felt an amazing connection to this bowl. And Janice bought it for me. And when we brought it home, sometimes it's sitting like just off to the side. And as I talk, I can hear it going, ooh, ooh. It responds to my voice. It's actually doing it right now. Sage. The answer is sage, by the way. So that's why, if you've been here before, I've been old sage. That's right. That's why, if you've been here before, that I like to take a moment to just ground together. I am into all of this stuff, right? But not the woo-woo part so much, right? So breathing is not woo-woo. Breathing is something that everybody does, but focusing on that breath for just 3 breaths is significant. It connects you to yourself. It calms you down, and it just grounds you. And so what I like to do is take a deep breath in, 3 of them together. We do a deep breath in for like a 3 or 4 count. We hold it and we push it out. And we do that as I'm ringing the bowl of sage. So let's all do this together. If you're with me, thank you. And let's start by taking a breath in. And let it out. Another breath in. And let it out. One more in together. And just push out what is no longer needed. Just let it go. And there you go, Sage. Still ringing over here. I don't know if the sound ducks it out for you guys, but Sage is still ringing. And thank you guys for doing that with me. Breathing. It's so easy to do, and it keeps us alive. And it connects us to ourselves. It's amazing. All right. So I'm warmed up. I think that's my warm-up routine for the show. I think that's what it's become. If you are here, like I said, live, type in hashtag live into the comments. It helps to tickle the algorithm, let them know something's going on. If you like what I'm doing, share it. Maybe somebody else, will like this stuff, these conversations. I'm excited because tonight I'm meeting a new person, right? You guys have seen me have conversations with friends. You've seen me have conversations with new people. I've been really more into the new people because it just opens my universe as I learn more and more about stuff. And tonight's guest, Dr. Lisa Zaretsky, she holds a doctorate in cognitive diversity. I want to find exactly what that is. I understand what cognitive is and thought process diversity. I understand what that is. So I'm sure it's going to be something I'm interested in. But she's also created her own school. Let me pop up the banner here. It's ZaretskyWellness.com. And she's got her own programs going, and we're going to learn all about it as I welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Dr. Lisa Zaretsky. Hello, Dr. Lisa. How are you doing?
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm really glad to have you. I'm excited to talk to you about what you do. Hypnotism, hypnotherapy in general is always really interesting to me because I believe that everything happens up here. And that's very much so what you're doing is you're getting in there. So I really definitely want to talk about it. But before we get into all that stuff, the live stream of consciousness, even though I've been doing it for 4 years and we were talking earlier about how it's evolved, there is this question that I love to ask, and I know you're probably ready for it. And that question is, what even is consciousness to you? What are we even talking about today?
That's actually a loaded question because I think that there's so many different angles to look at consciousness.
There are.
And I can speak about it from my own personal opinion in Kabbalah or even what I see in hypnotherapy. I think it would be fun to talk about hypnotherapy in this respect because consciousness is so much bigger than what we talk about. We say, oh, we think in consciousness, and then we have our subconscious where that's 95% of our operating system. But consciousness really lies in both. And when I do hypnotherapy, when we do regression, I never know where the mind's going to go, but the mind knows everything. And it works on, in the regression, where you need to go and not necessarily this lifetime. And so if that person is open and ready to go back to the roots, reasons, and causes of whatever is in their way, I'll go with it, and they'll go wherever those roots are. And I phrase it and I do the induction in a way where it leaves that completely open. So I'm not narrowing it in to just this lifetime. I'm phrasing it in a way that will tell the mind which is consciousness of many different respects of that person's experience.
Sure.
And wherever issues lie or whatever gets in the way of whatever their desires are, their goals, whatever it may be, it will go. So it will go back to any age or it will go back to any lifetime, depending on their paradigm and what they believe in terms of consciousness. I think consciousness is something that's collective as well. So it's a continuum, and I think we all share an aspect of consciousness too. It's hard to describe and define. And my life experiences also, studying Kabbalah, studying different spiritual things, and I bring the spiritual aspect to my work, a holistic aspect to my work, to Zaretsky wellness and redefining wellness. And redefining wellness, that's really also, exploring and redefining who who you are, how you experience life, and your perspective and your point of view. And consciousness is even your point of view, because whatever your point of view is and whatever lens you're seeing it from is how you experience life and how you create life. So, like you said, it's all in the mind. And once all the training I've had, education, social work, and then I've even been trained in psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, which is also seeing another stream of consciousness, both macro and micro. And the hypnotherapy has been really interesting. I would say the most interesting, even more so than the psychedelics, because the psychedelics, the plant medicine will take you where it decides and you're going to go. So with therapy, you're guided based on what your intention is. You brought up intention in your intro. Your intention is to be unstuck. Your intention is to expand your potential. Your intention is to resolve this presenting issue. So once you give the mind that instruction, and if you're open, it will go to wherever the root is, not necessarily here. So in answer to your question, long story short, I think that consciousness is many things. And in our language, I think it's hard to put words to it. I think we keep trying to describe it from different
Absolutely.
angles.
No, a million percent. It is kind of like a trick question. And I only realized that probably like 2 years into doing this, that I was like, wow, that question is really loaded, and it is not really answerable. And on the other side of that, there's no wrong answer. I mean, because it's whatever you think it is, right? Is it's what your experience is, which is great. And I love going into thought exercises about consciousness, like I'm the only thing that exists. Like you're a figment of my imagination. You know what I mean? And I mean, really, that like it makes so much sense, right, to me to think that, like, because if we're all one, then really I'm the only one, right? So, so some of the ancient ideas of we're all one. You know what I mean? That relates to consciousness, and I think I love it. That's why I think that's how I came up with the name of the show. I think I love play on words, and it was like, oh, we want to do a live stream, and it just kind of came to me. But it
Let's of consciousness. It's even like it reminds me a little bit even of there's a conversational hypnotherapy, which is not the deep dive regression, or there's not where you just go under and work on changing thoughts, whereas when you do the regression, you're working on the root reason and cause of changing beliefs. But when you do regular hypnotherapy, you can also change beliefs through changing thoughts. It's just a bit of a reverse. But when you do conversational hypnotherapy, people don't even realize it, but you're doing a live stream of consciousness, because you're getting to the subconscious, and the subconscious is just speaking, whether you realize it or not. And you get into that trance in that conversational hypnosis, just like you would get into a trance in watching TV or watching a movie or driving. It's the same thing. So think about what people's consciousnesses are doing when they're not even aware, at least when you're with somebody doing conversational hypnotherapy or any kind of consciousness work and you're intentional about it. Things are really working, things are coming up, you're experimenting, you're looking at things, you're being reflective, you're aware. So many people are having these live stream of consciousness on an everyday basis in front of the TV when there's tons of programming going on, or when you're driving. Who knows what's going on, because they're not usually aware unless they are intentionally aware when they sit down and start that process.
Yep. And I don't know if this is related. I kind of just thought of it as you were saying, but today I went to go drive somewhere, and I got in my car and I started driving, and I just did my like normal routine that I normally do. I just didn't go, and I was like, wait, this isn't where I'm going. I'm not going here. And I just kind of like I lost consciousness kind of for a moment, I guess.
That happened to me. I used to raising my kids. I used to drive to the schools all the time, and I used to drive to the high school all the time, and there was this way that I went all the time, and it was a way to other places too. But more often than not, the kids would laugh at me. I would be driving to the high school totally unconscious, because all of these things going on at once, I wasn't present, and I was distracted, and I was juggling 3 kids and 10 things all at the same time. And even somebody like me who's intentional and was doing the work even at that time, it would happen to me. And so I think it can happen to the best of us. We're all human. And it just is another lesson. Okay, even in these times, I need to tune in more. I need to be more intentional about it. And I think that that's only an opportunity to what you and I were talking about before we went on air. Life is evolving and growing.
Right. Absolutely. So I usually ask this next question, but you kind of came to me, and from like a little bit more on the medical side than like, the spiritual side, right? But I mean, I'm imagining that hypnotherapy is a very spiritual act in itself, because you're really going into the person's thing. So I guess my question is a kind of a two-part question. Where do you stand with the idea of a non-physical realm where people's energy exists, like spirits, like people who've passed on? Is that something that you...
1,000%. So my licenses make me more in the medical, and I'm bound to certain ethics and laws and rules under my LCSW. However, that's one aspect of the work I do, and when I do counseling under my LCSW license, I'm bound by those laws, and everything's empirically based and creative, but empirically based and eclectic. When I do the hypnotherapy coaching program or any kind of consulting, I have more flexibility, and I bring in a lot of spiritual work, and I'm bringing spiritual work under the guidelines of the LCSW and counseling license. Also, I'm very holistic. Everything I do is very holistic. And that said, either way, not only do I believe in it, I experience it all the time, and the way I approach my work is through that, because I will even, going one step further to a higher power, creator, God, whatever anybody connects with, I will always say, okay, God, you put me on a mission. This is where I am right now. This is who you brought me. And I will be the vessel. You work through me.
Awesome.
Whatever work needs to be done, you work through me and use me as the vessel and bring this person to their highest healing potential, whatever they need to be, and for their highest good and for mine, and then we get going. And it works every time.
I love that. I love that. I think that's why I was excited to talk to you, because I love people who come from a more medical traditional kind of background, but then also have these connections with the spiritual side of things that are kind of not necessarily in the same realm, right? And like even specifically, like I know someone who's a nurse, right, who talked to me about yoga, not yoga, but meditation. When you kind of put yourself in a specific pose, like physiologically, what that does to your body and blood vessels when you're breathing, like all of that stuff ties it all together for me, the spiritual side and the actual scientific side. So I'm loving this day and age with quantum physics and all of the things that are going on that are really connecting, I would say, like ancient knowledge and kind of more esoteric beliefs with common knowledge. So I'm excited to talk about that.
And
so
even when you, I'll just add on that, even when you're working with people like I do, or I'm working on teams or people working with me, when you approach the work in the way that I do, many things will come up, like intergenerational trauma, for example. Right? You'll see that in therapy counseling, you'll even see that in the classrooms, and it's expressed in many different ways. However, that's also a form of consciousness, what's passed down. Think about it. People are expressing and experiencing and living with, and their behaviors and their thought patterns and their belief systems are trauma from other people's experiences, but they're still living it out. That's truly an expression, and that's more common, and that's more under medical terms now in terms of the mental health world. However, if you really think about it, and you look at it from a broader aerial view, what is that? Right? It's a quantum continuum of time, or if time even exists, right? So, we call it time. However, that's a construct we have here in order to function and live in our our society and the systems we live in.
Yeah.
However, if you think about intergenerational trauma, which has now become a medical term in the mental health world, it's really that stream and quantum line.
Yeah. Again, that's why I was excited about this. So let me ask you a question then. Do you have a story or a moment that you remember when you said, you know what, there's more to this world than the science and the 3D and the physical aspects of it?
Oh yeah, when I was, since I'm very young, but it was very hard to talk about because the first time it happened, I wasn't received help from my family. I was 5, and my grandfather had passed away, and he came to me in the middle of the night. And so that experience was something that I remember very clearly, and I started to talk about it, and it was not something, like I said, that was received well, understandably so. You know, people can only do the best they can do with what they have and
Right.
know or are comfortable with, or what society dictates or family systems dictate. However, I didn't know what to make of that, but experiences throughout my life always circle back to that because that was a doorway that either I had to keep closed and shut to fit in, or to feel belonging, or I can talk about it in some safe spaces, or channel it to use it as creatively as possible through my work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So since I'm very young.
So I guess I'm thinking out loud. How did that fit in during your pursuit of your medical career? Like, you know, you couldn't really talk about it to your colleagues, I guess, right? Is it something that you kept secret, like until you figured out how to combine it? Or, I mean, now you've combined it. Now this is what you do, right? What was the catalyst for that? I guess that's the question.
So one of the things I would say, I've just talked about it differently in terms of intuition. So, and my intuition was usually very good. Certainly things can impact intuition like trauma, medication, illness, things like that. However, for the most part, my intuition's always been very good, and I've talked about it in that realm.
Mhm.
And that was one way. Inkling is another. And knack. Have a knack for something or being guided. There's ways that I was able to say it in an acceptable way
Mhm.
for the most part, where people either didn't really ask any questions, or that's how I was able to put it into my work.
Mhm.
I'm very good at this, things like that.
Right.
Something that's natural to me.
Right. So, and then you mentioned, when you are working with somebody and they're under hypnosis and they talk about something, the idea, and this is kind of how I knew, the idea that it's not necessarily something like trauma when they were a kid, but maybe it's related to a past life, right? Or some other point of existence of that person's consciousness, that person's energetic signature, existing in the quantum field, right? In the infinite field. So how did you make that connection? I guess I'm curious about like how the hypnosis went to that. Again, we talked earlier about how all of that is happening up in the mind, and just before you answer, the reason I'm asking is because for me, I obviously have a connection to all of this stuff and believe very, very heavily in it, but I have not really had any successful sort of past life regression or deep hypnosis. I mean, I've had my own experiences in meditation, and I've had some experiences that I consider where I've crossed a realm for a moment or something like that, but it wasn't through hypnosis. So I'm just curious about like your path of learning hypnosis and the connection to that aspect of consciousness.
Well, I was very interested in past lives or quantum. My experiences in life led me to that interest, and I've read, I've gone to seminars, I've gotten trained in many different areas through trying to enhance my work as well as my personal wisdom and my own healing as well. And so, I read Many Lives, Many Masters 25 years ago, and just always tapped in to this type of topic and world and exploring and incorporating it into my world and how it makes sense and how to make my life and those that I love or work with or community better. And so I had that familiarity, and I had gone for my own. I've gone to psychics. I've gone to. I've done past life experiences with professionals, and when I got trained in hypnotherapy, in particular, a very powerful form of hypnotherapy called RTT, rapid transformational therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's probably, and I incorporate that into the hypnotherapy coaching program.
I want to know specifically what that is. I don't think I'm really. I mean, I probably know some sort of form of it, but I would love you to talk about that.
Probably one of the most powerful tools I'm trained in, and what I've seen with utilizing it, whether I use it on its own or incorporating it into the 3-month hypnotherapy program the 3-month hypnotherapy coaching program that I developed.
Mm-hmm.
Where I incorporate a lot of other tools too. It's a very powerful, rapid program that is 99% effective. Thank God, I have a 99% success rate. Knock on wood, thank God.
Wow.
But it incorporates a lot of my training and even the framework of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy without the psychedelic and the hypnotherapy instead.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely effective. But RTT is so powerful. It's one of the most powerful tools I'm trained in. And it incorporates many methods. It incorporates hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
It incorporates Gestalt, incorporates CBT, neuro-linguistic programming, psychoanalysis, parts therapy. It really is very comprehensive and sequential and put together in a way that is probably one of the most effective tools I have been trained in and used. When I use it, it's quite effective, especially within the context of the program I developed.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've watched others do or hear and see through my training, what I've seen, it was remarkable. And then my background and my interest in the quantum world, I had that expanded view saying, why does it have to be this world? And people come for many different reasons and for different things. So when I started practicing, it just didn't occur to me to make it here and now, right? So I don't say what age you were or whatever. I reframe it in a way to make it whenever. And the most interesting thing in doing this work is that 100% of the time I've seen the mind go where the mind needs to go. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can't force it, and you can't make it, and that person has to be ready for it. So whatever they're ready for and the mind needs to go, it's where they go. And it's truly fascinating.
Wow.
And then you help them in
Right.
that method to make the connections. You just guide them through. You're just a facilitator. They're making the connections. You're not hinting, nothing. It's all them. And again, that's the mind.
Yeah.
And so I think it was that, that particular training in particular that opened up a much broader way, even more so than psychedelics, to even psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, which you're adding the psychotherapy to it. There's a whole protocol. It just opens it up for more innovation and the ability to expand that person's potential if they're open and ready and their paradigm is there to do really deep, genuine healing. And I would say that for me, that was really interesting. And then I saw people that were part of the RTT program, and I became friendly with them. And some of them made it a specialty area. And I did a couple of sessions. We did sessions with each other back and forth, just in regression, and that was pretty interesting also. Most of the Phyllis Cannon's method also, that's a much longer regression method. They're the same in terms of going back, but Dolores Cannon is definitely just going back in time the way I use RTT and the other methods in that program I was telling you about, that 3-month program, is that it's that person's decision and their mind together and what the need is and what the intention is, what the goal is, what the objective is, all of that, that's where the mind goes.
Yeah, you know, I think you're hitting on something really important. I'm definitely feeling like the need to respond to that and talk about and ask you what you're like. I don't know what your demographic is, right? Like if you work with more spiritual people or just the general public or whatever, but like how many people are actually ready, right? Like do you find people who come say I want help, but they're just like not ready, and you know, somebody like you would be able to tell pretty quickly like, yeah, you're just kind of not ready. Is that, do you find more people ready or more people not ready? I guess that's kind of my question.
Yeah. So this is part of my intake, and this is what it's come down to. And yeah, I'm pretty good at screening. And I ask certain questions. Am I perfect? No. However, I would say I have good success rate there too. And the bottom line is that, and I think this applies to anything, but in particular when you're going to do a deep dive and you want a rapid change with a tool that can do that, people say, yes, I want to change, but here's the thing. Do you want to live another way? Are you done? Are you done? And if you're ready to live another way, great. It doesn't matter if you believe what I have to offer you is going to work, as long as you are absolutely ready to live another way and invested and ready to let jump off a cliff. And that includes addictions, depression, money issues, performance issues at work, on the field, academically. It's across everything. And people tend to get addicted to victim mentality or limited beliefs or trauma. And I'm not, in any way dismissing that or putting that down. I'm myself a victim of trauma. It's a process. However, I have a certain perseverance that I really am determined to keep going and live another way. For me, my formula is perseverance and getting up and moving forward. And if I look back in my life, through my darkest times is where I've had the most accomplishments. So for me, it's not a motivator that I want to have, but the formula for me is perseverance and to rise up and persevere and to be persistent. And some people, that's a talent or a strength of theirs, right? So persistence is a strength of mine. And people can have judgment on perseverance because it could be looked at as a negative quality. However, for me, it served me well, and I think it serves most people well because it helps them achieve their goals, or it helps them rise up and keep going. And even when they're not ready to let go of that addiction, if they want to live another way, they're going to be persistent to move forward. If you're moving forward, you can't hang on. So, and if you're given the tools to keep moving forward and you're ready to live another way and you're persistent and you keep going forward, eventually the ball and chain is going to drop off. You can't hold on anymore.
Right.
So I screen people, I'm ready to live another way, done. And sometimes that's some layering, like weight reduction. That can be very complicated and complex. So they want to reduce their weight. Sometimes the first round is recognizing this is an inside job. And I have an addiction, right? I have a food addiction. Not everyone, but a lot. And then it becomes, are you ready to get rid of that addiction? But first is the awareness that this is an inside thing. No wonder nothing has worked. Right? And every time I use the word loss, my mind is telling me loss is painful. So I'm sabotaging myself, and that's what the world does. We have to also change the vocabulary and the words.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the key factor. I've had people with enormous trauma that have come to me and said nothing's worked. And I said, well, do you want to look another way? Yes, that's true. Well, what does that mean to you? And I'll hear what they have to say. Okay, but I don't think this is going to work. I said, that's okay. You don't think it has to work. Do you want to live another way? Yes. And everything we just talked about, yes. all right,
Yeah,
let's go. And
sure.
then they have success.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I know for me personally, again, like you said, I'm certainly not perfect, right? And actually I like that, right? Because I got to keep kind of questioning that and working on it and figuring out what's not perfect, right? And how can I make it better, right? How can I make things better? And for the last bunch of months, I've definitely been experiencing things. A couple of months ago, it started with this level of experience, meaning, you experience something. There's a physical experience, right? There's like the visceral part of it. There's an intellectual part of it. There's an emotional part of it. But there was another layer of energy. There was an energetic part of a moment for me where I would feel my skin tingling. I would feel this. It was kind of physical, but it was more of a feeling than a physical thing, right? It was like kind of this combination. And then I went on a retreat to Costa Rica, and all sorts of things happened. It was an amazing week. I was there with my partner, and we ended up getting married. We didn't go there to get married, but we ended up getting married. Thank you. And the real kind of lesson, the feeling that I had around the whole week was the idea of creating your own reality, and how that is possible, right? And how you may say that, and then there may be these expectations of like, okay, I want a milkshake, boom, I got a milkshake in my hand. No, it doesn't work that way. But creating your own reality is a perception. And that's what I was talking about at the intro to the show. The shift that we're going through is a perception, and it's really, I think, easy to, like, once you think about it, figure out those things and take accountability for those perceptions. And again, the reality that I created was I got married in Costa Rica in this beautiful jungle, you know what I mean? And it was just, I came back, and I'm married, and I had this experience that I created, me and my wife co-created.
You also did the work, and I think that's where you were talking about woo woo in the introduction. The woo woo is, oh, you could just manifest it; it's going to come to you. That's the woo woo. The reality is yes, you can create and manifest and
Right.
direct your mind with your beliefs and your thoughts and your words internally and externally, and you
Right.
need to do the work. And you need to do
Right.
the intention. You need to do the mind work, and you need to take the action steps.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
took the action steps to get married, and you created this
Yeah.
reality.
Right. But also, I guess it's through experiences of feeling certain ways, right? And then looking into like the accountability of, wait a second, I'm deciding to feel this way, right? I'm deciding to react to this moment in this way. I'm deciding to look at it like something's happening to me, not something's happening for me. I know that's the cliche, right? Life happens for you, not to you, but it's true, right? It's like, and I guess it's true if, you know what? I just realized it's true if you want it to be true. If you don't
Yeah,
want it to be
self
true,
perception, like we were talking about before.
yeah, if you don't want it to be true, it's not true, because
Yeah,
you're making it that way. You're creating that reality. um
yeah.
and
And
so
Eric talks about that through access consciousness. That I don't know if you know Dr. Eric, but yeah, he talks about that in a lot of his videos. It's your decision to
right,
make it true, and it's your perception and your decision that becomes your reality.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, totally. So does that play into your work, like your, I mean, to
All the time.
me, yeah,
All the time.
yeah, to me,
All the
that's therapy. That's like, under just like, some simple therapy, like breathing, you know what I mean, keeps you alive. But like when you focus on it, there's another level to it, right? We don't think
time.
about it, and we're alive and we get through the day. But if we sit for a moment and meditate and think about it, it takes us to another level. We're going inside, it's like,
There's no question. And when people come to me, and we keep talking about this one particular service I have several, but this is really interesting because when people come to this 3-month hypnotherapy coaching program, the way they come is not the way they leave.
mhm,
And I see this process of what you're talking about happen And the way that I put together the program, it's very intentional. And everything I do in the program is because it takes them this way, step by step. It's scaffolding. I see it happen.
That's great.
The science. Even so much so that I'll say to people before we do the deep dive of the hypnotherapy, because that's only part of it, and we do one really deep dive, it's a 3-hour session. And beforehand, I'll say to them, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to let go of the roots and all these faulty beliefs and how you got them and how they were internalized, and we start to learn that, and that thoughts are created from beliefs. So that after you go through this process, the next week, it's part of the detoxing, but it's also part of the reacclimating. You might feel really weird, and the thoughts will circle, but they have nowhere to land. And they don't understand what I mean by that. And I've gone through this too, so I know what it feels like. And then they come back the week after, and they're still like, I don't know how to explain it.
Right.
The way you said it, I couldn't even imagine it. But it's so awkward and it's so weird, and it's they feel like they're in two realms, two realities.
Wow.
The old thoughts are so familiar that they keep circling.
Right.
They're not sticking because they don't have anywhere to land. It's like the separation of these, the beliefs are gone, and so they're not coming back, even if they were familiar with or they've been transformed. But the thoughts, they're persistent.
Right.
And they keep trying, but they don't. They come, they go. It's like they bounce off like Teflon.
Right. Yeah. So that makes me think of, again, just something that's been kind of coming up in conversation, the idea of frequency, right? So that's almost like you're raising the vibration. That person is now tuned into a different radio station, a higher frequency, and those lower frequency thoughts are just not coming through because they're not tuned into that frequency anymore. They can't.
That was a perfect way to put it. And one of the things I even do when I do a visual with the hypnotherapy is that I'll talk about that. That only they have the dial. The dial only goes up. It can never go down again. It can only go up. And then that's one of the tools they can tap into themselves to tune up the frequencies and raise it and elevate. And we also, one of the things I do is it's very important, self-connection. Everyone that comes in here is disconnected from themselves, but just about everyone when they first come in. I mean, not as they work with me, but when they first come in, I would say that's pretty common.
Yeah.
And that disconnection from self is disconnection from consciousness too. And they're living life unconsciously. They're disconnected from themselves. We've all experienced that. We go through the programs, we go through trauma, family system programs, school system programs, community system, religion, culture, and there's so many systems that we get programs from. We don't even realize it. It's like watching 10 shows every single day for the rest of your life, and it's in your head, right?
Yeah.
So they're called TV programs for a reason. So if you think about it, it's like all these programs through all the systems that we live through.
Yeah.
Right? And they get ingrained. So I think that people are living life unconsciously and on robotic autopilot on these programs. And that's a big issue. And then they become so disconnected because they're living based on programs, not on their authenticity. And many people repress their authenticity because it's not acceptable within the family system, the community system, the school system, the work system, whatever it may be. And so they repress this authentic self, and it's just the repression, and they disconnect. So one of the things I also do, especially when they're under, is that reconnection to self.
Awesome.
And that's so important, and that's one of the first things we do when we establish that with the lung visuals also, and the mind-heart cohesion. Like clients always say, oh, you always use that word cohesion, the mind-heart cohesion. Yes, the mind-heart cohesion is really important, so we always establish that because that's a way to secure reconnecting with self. And we also do that with frequency, so that it's differently, and once it's reestablished, it's not rebroken, right? And that's what their belief system is also. And then when they're ready, especially if somebody does a second round, we do the mind, heart, God, higher power, creator, whatever you feel comfortable calling it, connection.
Right.
If you think about it, then they're really ready, and that connection is infinite because it goes from the heart to the mind to the creator, back to the mind, back to the heart. And it's truly the infinite, right? It's the infinite. And once you have that infinite connection going, and you can raise the frequency, you can only raise it up. That helps you to elevate you at a higher frequency. And when you're living at a higher frequency, those thoughts can't survive there. Those bitterness, those angry, David Hawkins talks about frequencies of thought, bitterness, anger, sorrow, grief, are all down here. Love, joy, happiness, and they can't coexist.
Right.
So the higher your frequency, the higher your thoughts are going to be. They're going to be that place of gratitude, joy, love, and you're going to lead in that way that you lead with your needs and your thoughts, and then that creates your emotions and your emotional patterns, and so those will be at a higher frequency that will be more regulated because they'll be operating from a place of joy and love. Judgment, wipes away. The negativity will come up, but if you are aware of it and you're conscious of it, make that connection and connect it to yourself, you'll be aware of it and you'll be able to help it process it out without judgment but with mercy. And so, and that's something that I work with. Here at Zaretsky also, we work on those kinds of concepts. And if you're working from mercy, you're at a higher frequency. If you're working from a place of judgment, you're here lower, bitterness, anger, resentment. If you're working from a place of grace for yourself and others, then you're working from a higher frequency. So when that negativity comes up and you're coming from this place, those thoughts don't stick.
Right.
You just pass through it. And then different thoughts.
Well, I think what was the most important thing you started with was self-love, right? Because I think, because if you don't have that, and that's the place you're coming from, you're not getting anywhere, really. I mean, there's really no place to go from there until you even recognize what that is. And you said most people don't have that connection, and I agree with you. It's kind of sad to see a lot of people just function, right? They're just functioning in society. They're waking up, they're on the hamster wheel, they're going home, they're off the hamster wheel, and they don't give themselves time for themselves to even just look and I just thought of something. I saw this thing about eye gazing today, where you sit and you just eye gaze across with somebody. I don't know if you know what that is or do that, but I just thought of the idea of eye gazing with yourself in the mirror, like to just ground for a moment and just look at yourself and love yourself. I always talk about the idea. Now, I personally don't have any children, but I have nephews and nieces, and I've been around that experience, and I feel like the experience of having a child is this sacred bond of such a high level of love, and I can only imagine what it must be like to gaze upon your own child, right? Like I can just say, I can imagine that's like looking at a perfect human being, like no judgment, no flaws, no nothing, right? That's what I needed to see in the mirror. I needed to look in the mirror and feel like that's what I was feeling to get to the point of self-love, and I didn't. When I thought of that, I was like, I don't feel like that. When I look in the mirror, I don't feel like that, and it took a lot of work, and I still think I'm always working. It's not every single time I look in the mirror, but I would say 99 times out of 100 that I look in the mirror, I can smile back at myself.
That's awesome.
Which is important. You know what I mean? It's
so important.
I give
them as homework actually, and with post-its. So not only do they have to look at themselves in the mirror, there are things they have to say to themselves so that they're looking and they're saying it at the same time. So they're actually getting the experiential piece of it while saying it, instructing their mind, because words matter and the mind listens.
Feeling the frequency and the words. Yep, words. All of that stuff. I'm a big believer in all of that stuff. I just want to get to.
I have it too.
I want to get to one of my viewers, Angelo. I know he's out there and he's chomping at the bit. He loves to feel into my guests. He's a little bit, he's got a little bit of a gift, and so he's just asking some questions about you. Are you into zodiacs or planets?
Yeah, so I don't do astrology per se, like as an astrologist, but I'm super into. I believe all of it. I believe in all of it, and I see it, and I find it to be very accurate. And I love Kabbalah, and
Mhm.
I incorporate a lot of Kabbalah teachings into my work as well. And Kabbalah is
Yeah.
very into science and zodiac. Yes, that's a great
Nice.
question.
Nice. And then the next one he says is, does she do past life regression? I think he's trying to say here, past last regression, but I think he's trying to say past life regression, which he follows up with, why do people keep coming back mostly?
To work on their soul corrections. Yeah.
To-
And so that they're constantly coming back to work on what wasn't worked on in that past life and to
Mhm.
be their perfect self. One of the things actually talking about live stream of consciousness and what we're talking about time and you just keep the mind goes where it needs to go. Not only can you go past, you could go to your future self. And so often it's part of what I do with people too in this 3-month coaching program, especially when they're under, is seeing themselves in the future. So thanking themselves for the past, because if it wasn't for all the things in the past, whether they believe that in their conscious state, their subconscious state, they always can see how it brought them here to today. And if it didn't happen, then they wouldn't be where they are and they wouldn't be where they're going.
Mhm.
And they can look to their future self and where all of that is whole and perfect, and they can borrow or take that energy or that frequency and pull it in and connect it and bring it together and bring that wholeness to themselves. And that's quite healing. And that also helps people evolve. And that's a spiritual consciousness because you're going through future self that's perfect and whole. That's gone through the self corrections. That's done everything, the soul corrections. That's done everything it needs to do. And has that outcome. That's quite easy to do. You don't even have to be in hypnosis anymore. You can actually just do it very consciously with your subconscious and tap into your future self to
Yeah.
be what's already there.
Yeah. And I love the idea that you can interact with your future self or your past self to initiate healing, to achieve some sort of healing. I've heard some amazing stories. I've never experienced ayahuasca personally, although it's super amazing to hear some stories. I have some friends who have, and just the idea, there's a story of a girl who went back and saw herself as a young child hiding under a piano because she had to go to the bathroom, and she was taught, like, ladies don't go to the bathroom, it's not ladylike, so she held it in, and she was hiding under the piano, and that caused some chronic condition in her stomach or whatever it was. She experienced pain from that, and she never knew that that's what it was. And she was able to grab the hand of her younger self and say, it's okay, pull her out from under the piano. And then when she came out of her ayahuasca experience, had no pain, never experienced it again, like healed that, which is so amazing to me. And again, why I say it's all in here, right? The power that we have is so underestimated, and I think even untapped and unexplored. We only know so much, even where we're at with quantum physics and AI. I think we're just at the beginning of kind of understanding, and that's, again, the shift that I'm talking about. Is it's not going to be, when someone says we're going from 3D to 5D, it's not going to be some sort of physical shift. I think the shift is going to happen here, and I think actually for a lot of people the shift has happened here, right? They're actively being that shift. You know what I mean?
It's on their way or they're living it and don't realize it. But I think that self-connection is a big deal to be able to recognize and experience that you're living it, whether you're living off the programs or you're living off the intention and the expanded consciousness and elevating your consciousness. I think it goes back to what you were saying before. And I'd love to have that experience that you shared about in ayahuasca. I see that with hypnotherapy all the time. I did see when I actually did my training, the psychedelic assistant training in Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
So it is a very magical place. I agree.
Totally.
It was so magical. Yeah, I agree, and I can't wait to go back. But one of the things I kept doing was raising my hand and saying, "Well, how is this different than hypnotherapy? Both pass the default system of the mind. either whether it be DMT or ketamine or anything, and it's still a plant, a synthetic medicine, it's a psychedelic that bypasses the default system of the mind. Hypnotherapy does the same thing through a relaxed state, so it's like the nervous system taking a rest or a nap or sleep, but you're completely aware and in control the whole time. You're just moving past the default system because the consciousness is like the conscious, and which is related to the nervous system, is just taking a rest and saying, okay, now, we're going to go to the subconscious now. You're able to rest now. And it goes. So it's truly the same thing. One, the plant medicine is guiding you to there, but clearly the mind is ready to let it go there. And we hope. And with hypnotherapy, just through the whole experience, the mind goes with it. So it's both scenarios that can happen.
And you mentioned earlier, I think the important thing in both of those scenarios is you need to be ready, and you need to know what it is you're trying to achieve, and have that clear intention. Go into it with that clear intention. It sounds like I definitely want to talk to you after this. We're kind of coming to the end of the hour, but it sounds like I could definitely use some work with you, and as clear as I feel, and as much as I feel I am in control of my reality, it's still always a work in progress. And I think there's always more that we can learn to assist that idea so that it's more consistent, and it does almost become more like I want a milkshake, boom, there it is in my hand. I think we probably could do that, if we really had the power, to
possible. Telepathy, all of that, they talk about it. So it's the powers of the mind, I think we're just learning, it's just tapping into. I have no doubt that you're onto something, and that it's likely true, because we're just using such a small percentage of our mind with ourselves and with each other. I agree with you. I believe that there's so much more.
That's why I'm so excited. I said at the beginning of the show, if you're living out of love, this isn't a scary time. This is an exciting time, I think, because you're experiencing connections with other humans on levels that you didn't experience 20 years ago. I know I am, for sure, definitely connecting with people on cosmic levels, right? Knowing that I know someone for past lives, or just feeling their energy, being able to recognize people who I feel are like, oh my God, I feel like I'm grounded and calm, but that person is enlightened, right? Like, just looking at different things, and even as a doctor, you being able to look at someone and say, oh wow, this person needs to understand that they're not connected to themselves. So you're starting way at the beginning, with that.
A lot of the time that's true, and I'll just tap off with something else you said. Even those who are working on consciousness and living in consciousness, and really committed to elevating their consciousness, in my opinion, they're the ones that are also always doing the work, and they're continually doing the work, and knowing that the work is so critical to be done, whether it's comfortable or not, to continue to create that kind of consciousness higher and higher and elevate. And they're also willing to move through the discomfort, as painful or as uncomfortable as it may be. And they also recognize that things are constantly changing and evolving. Their environments, the people, they continue to shift and change, and people come in and out of their lives depending on the work they're doing and the elevation that they create and achieve. And that can also be uncomfortable and painful, but that's also that negativity coming out and releasing. That's part of the deeper meaning as to why we came here. Instead of asking why, one of the things I work on is saying thank you. So thank you for, to that greater power, to that greater consciousness. Because when we say why, we're coming from a victim place, and we're also perpetuating that old program. And if you say, okay, thank you, I know that there's a reason and a power, and I'll keep doing the work, whether it be an opportunity or a that I work with and other people that I bring in on my teams to when something happens, you want to be responsive, you don't want to be reactive. That's key. Key to consciousness and higher level consciousness.
Absolutely.
Consciousness is being responsive, not reactive. That is absolute key. And pause is always a very important part. But what you can do is you can say, pause, what a pleasure, or pause, what a gift. Because when you do that, it changes the belief and the thinking as to, oh, wait a minute, this is happening for a reason. I know there's a greater purpose. And what it also does is it shifts the lens of those neurochemicals from fear to excitement or anxiety to, excitement. And it creates a whole new level of going at it. Once you're pausing and you do that, you're responsive and you're not reactive. And then you are in control, like you said. You can
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I was actually going to ask if you had any final words of wisdom for my audience, and I think that was it. That's so beautiful. It's so. I mean, I know for you and me, probably it's simple, and probably for most of my audience, that's a simple concept, right? Like be responsible, be accountable for how you are responding and reacting, which I think they're similar. And I think, like you said, respond, process, take a pause. Those are the important things in interacting with each other, right? Everything is an energy exchange. Every conversation, every glance, everything is an energy exchange. And you can be in control of your part of that exchange, right? And
you can be intentional about it also.
And
intentional is awareness, and awareness is consciousness.
Absolutely. Amazing. I feel like I only scratched the surface with you, Dr. Lisa.
Yeah, let's do this again.
it was really amazing to talk to you. Yes, I would definitely love to have you back. So that you are definitely welcome back. We'll have to put a date on the calendar and have you back.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can.
I agree with you. We scratched the surface for sure.
Yeah, but we'll be more. We'll decide what we can talk about. We'll talk about something that we feel is important for people to know, that just is simple, that a lot of people just don't know. And again, you have a lot of insight into that. It sounds like what you do really allows you to get a good feel of humanity and where they're at and where we're at, and then inject your love into the collective, and raise the vibration of the collective, because that's what we do. That's what we do. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure.
Awesome. I'm going to put you in the green room. Don't go away. I just want to say goodnight to my audience, and then I do want to say goodbye to you personally, and exchange like some more ideas and when we can work together. So
yeah, that sounds good. And I'd like to say goodnight to your audience too. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Oh man. All right. I got to do it again, but I'm just going to do one. Wow. That was awesome. I love energy exchange with intention, especially when it's good intention. Sometimes intention isn't so good, but it's usually good intention here on the live stream of consciousness. So thank you guys. Ninja Kitty, as always, another amazing show. You are part of that, Ninja Kitty. I keep trying to explain to you, you're here, you're a part of this being an amazing show. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Your attention, your intention for being here really means a lot to me. So thank you. You can join me on Tuesday on Holding Space on the Sacred Spiral Network, or Thursday here on the live stream of consciousness. I'm usually here, and it's always a good time. So you won't be disappointed. And let me just look for they redid the whole interface over here on the side. Let me look for my outro. I found it. Peace, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you are dream reality. We are all a part of the answer to the meaning of it.